Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film. We head into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos' 1966 epic, The Battle of Algiers. As always, I'm joined by Mike B.
Yep.
And Nate.
Take one. Got it. All right.
God damn, that was beautiful.
So, guys, what do you think?
Of your colossal fuck up or the film?
Yeah, after I fucked it up a bunch of times.
That was good. But yeah, anyway,
yeah. So what did you guys think?
It was not what I expected. It was better. It was
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I when it started out, it was like, I mean, really with any film starting out, a lot of times it'll start out when they're getting this, as we know, like getting the set and everything, kind of the groove of things. The beginning scenes might be a little bit awkward and not as the fuck is the word I'm looking for? It doesn't flow as well. And then once you get into the groove and the flow and everything, you can tell that all the actors and the producers and the director and all the crew, it's like, okay, it becomes just natural and just a process and like you're used to it. But yeah, so it started out and I was like, oh God, it's gonna be one of those movies and with the kind of like weird scenes and the shitty acting on some of the actors' parts at first. And just like the cliche lines, like when he goes, no, I was like, come on. And then, then the title comes on, and then it just from there, it just bam, then the movie's over. Like it flew because it flowed so well, and it was just it was magic the way it flowed, like macro level. So yeah.
Yeah, before I really comment on it, because I've seen this a few times. I believe, Nate, this is your first time seeing this film as well.
Yeah.
Like Birch.
Yeah.
What did you think overall?
Me?
Yeah.
Boring.
Really?
Really boring.
Interesting.
Really boring.
Wow.
I fell asleep twice.
Interesting.
I can see that.
It was fine. Like it's shot really well for the time for it being 1960s and the whole part of the world and stuff. It's really well done. I was bored. I just was bored. The subject didn't intrigue me.
That's a problem then.
Yeah,
because,
it just like
I can totally see that. Yep.
Yeah,
yep,
like
yep.
it's not that I find it's not that I'm feeling like it's not important or anything. It just I just was just watching it and then boom, I was asleep.
Yeah, that's
twice. And what
totally
woke me up was the rebels. Blah, 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 blah. So it's like that's what woke me up like twice. So it's like all right.
The two times they do it in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
but interesting.
It was really well filmed though, and I loved what was in it. It just was very, very, very slow for me. And that's my own personal take. Like that's my own style and my own choice and what keeps me engaged. And
it kept me justify your.
Well, no. I mean, like because I wanted to like this movie because of how interesting the subject seemed to be. It just seemed like I think it's the cadence of the movie that was slow and boring to me. Not necessarily the subject and what was going on, but it was the cadence. And I think that's what was really kind of.
That's interesting you say that because the cadence. So to give a little background on the film and stuff, the head producer for the movie was Jaffer, the guy in the fucking film, the head of the actual Algerian, NLF. He lived, and after the revolution, he got this film written and produced. So basically, everything you see happened was real. Like the one scene where they're smuggling the bombs through the casbah gates, and the woman has the conversation with the guy, like, "Are you going to the beach?" That happened. That was a real 100% conversation that took place, word for word, verbatim. Like so much shit in this movie is for verbatim how it actually happened during the Battle of Algiers. And just to extrapolate this out a little bit, the Battle of Algiers was the Algerian battle for independence, and it basically started in 1954 after Dien Bien Phu, where all these groups that had been mad at the French for decades, basically since the 1830s when they took over North Africa, were like, the French army's defeated. They thought the whole army got destroyed at Dien Bien Phu. They're like, now is the time for the revolution. And they were right in the sense that it was the right time, but they were wrong in the sense that French military wasn't destroyed. Just part of it was destroyed in one of the colonies. So everything really kicks off in 54, and it just grows and gets worse and worse and worse until this period in 1957 that's depicted, in the film, where it gets really bad. Like, this is the height of the Battle of Algiers. And so the people that do live through it, like Jaffer, once they win their independence, they want to tell the story of it. So that's why he wanted to tell the story. So as part of like the cadence and stuff, there's a few films that come out around this time, 50s and 60s, European cinema and stuff, where it's about resistance movements and stuff, minimalism and fighting the long fight. And I think that's might be where you think it was quote unquote boring.
It is.
When they were trying to instill the idea of you've been oppressed for 150 years. This is the long period of, it's like, because they do touch on the interesting aspects of revolution in the film a lot. Like first comes terrorism, then comes, general populist uprising, then comes armed conflict. And then, that's the process. And, that's why I think they were really doing the cadence like that to try to like, Chinese water torture, the drip of occupation. You do one thing to fight your oppressors, they wall you in. You do this, like just the cat and mouse game of it. And just while I'm here to touch on it, I find the decolonization period fascinating, because what happened from 39 to 45 is that all the empires were shattered and destroyed. The British lose their empire to save the world in a way. Like, so did the French. And what happens after the war is, how do these people deal with their legacy? The British realize, after a snowstorm of all things in 1946, that they can't keep up this fucking huge system. And then they start the process of decolonization. India, the whole empire is now its own sovereign nations. The French were different. The French viewed the war as a stain on their honor. And that the people that literally were oppressed by the Nazis and Gestapo in their home fucking country made sure to do the same exact tactics in their empire to keep their empire together. So you have, like they mentioned in the film, that the leader of the paratroopers, he was in the French resistance. And he's like, oh, how do you destroy a resistance group? Well, how do you make one? Like, these guys literally were the oppressors or the oppressees 10 years before they became the oppressors. It's crazy. You have literally guys that are in these concentration camps that are doing similar tactics to people that are fighting their own revolutions and fighting their own freedom. So the 45 to 65 period, at least for myself, is fascinating with decolonization. Because it's like, how does the West deal with their legacy of, well, we have the stuff and what are we going to do now? And each different, country approached it separately. So to bring it back to the Battle of Algiers, that's what this is really getting. And in my opinion, this is the only film that gets decolonization. Like, you're fighting someone that says that they're on your side. And they're like, why aren't you on our side? We're helping you, Like, why are you trying to kill us? We're giving you independence. And if you stop fighting, we'll give you, like, just this back and forth idea of like, don't bite the hand that feeds you, even though we've been here for 13 decades and we're going to keep fucking you over. So, yeah, I said a lot, but that's kind of how I feel about the film and how I feel like maybe you viewed the cadence. Because I can see.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's covering eight years, too, of a lot of shit going on. And it has to touch, in that 2 hours, it has to touch on the extremely relevant points and the turning points of the, well, FLN, they call it French, but like at the NLF, it has to convey through his story, because I'm sure he wanted to add more in there, but then you've got a series. Then you've got a series that can basically go on forever.
You got a 3.5 hour, 4 hour movie if you do that.
Oh my god, easy. And so it starts out in 54 and it shows and it goes all the way to 62. Well, 60 really in the film, but like, that's 8 years is a long time, as we know, and because there was so much shit happening, it's like, oh, how do you put that into 2 hours and still convey all those points? And with that, so yeah, Nate, I understand why exactly the cadence it's weird for sure, and if you don't really have like an interest in the subject, it's kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what, you know what I mean? And so I totally get that, and I see that because it does, because it's an insurgency, it's a revolution, it's a very slow process, and the film kind of conveys, like Brian was saying, just that drip, 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 and it conveys it in the same manner of, well, it doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't even happen in a year, it doesn't even happen in 2 years, it takes a fucking almost a decade from start to finish, and that's even quick. And And so, yeah, I totally understand and get where you're coming from, and yeah, that's valid.
And it wasn't, and when I say like boring, it doesn't mean boring. Boring doesn't mean bad. Boring doesn't mean
No,
like, like this is going to be a bad rating on my end even. It's just I had a very hard time having my attention engaged constantly on a subject, kind of exactly what you said, Mike, where it's like, I know of this
yeah,
altercation. I don't know much about the history. It's targeting a era after what I really kind of deem my
yep,
subject matter that I really love and really research. And so I think in a region that I know nothing about. So I think that by itself is some of the kind of, trouble with being constantly engaged. But I did,
100%,
but I did
yeah,
feel like that a lot of this movie, subject matter that it was trying to show when it did keep my attention was really good. And I think the cinematography for it being a
yeah,
1960s kind of like, I hate to say experimental film kind of style feeling, like French experimental, like that's literally what I got out of it. Um, and so like that, with it being that time, I hate those movies. I had to suffer through those movies in film school, and it was like pulling teeth. So I hated European like minimal artiste films with fin at the end, like I just, it's like I that might be some of what I'm feeling as well.
yeah.
But yeah, that I mean, overall, I mean, I liked it. It was, the cadence was very slow. The subject matter was not what I know, so I'm not interested in that. The gunplay was interesting, but it wasn't enough to keep me solely interested in it. It's very minimal. But yeah.
No, dude, it definitely is in that era of pre-French noir experimentation with films, and it reminds me a lot of another film from 1955 that's called A Man Escaped, which is, in my opinion, one of the best films ever
Isn't
made.
that
But it's
that
about
film
the
that
only
you
guy
like
that
rave
ever,
and rant and rave about? And it's like that
yeah,
spy
it's
movie that Sean and I both are like, if we hear it one more time, we feel like we've watched it through you.
well, there's two of them, yeah, but they're both in the same vein.
Right.
One is A Man Escaped, which is a French noir minimalistic about a guy that the only guy that ever escaped from the Chapeau prison in Paris.
Oh, okay.
Fascinating.
Cool.
And the other one is called Army of Shadows, which is
That's the
again was
one.
filmed
That's
by
the
a
one.
guy.
That's the one you talk
Yeah,
about a lot. Yeah.
it was filmed by a guy who was a member of the French Resistance, but it's filmed in the style. It's very long. It's very like drip, 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 drip. It's about what occupation is like, and it's like we could really sum up occupation as like what is resistance. You know, is resistance not opening your shop? You're gonna have a strike. Is resistance killing a French police officer? Like what is resistance? What can people get away with? What do people want to get away
Getting
with?
guillotined.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh
When
god.
it's active and
Yeah,
passive.
dude. Is that crazy? That was still fucking. I
I
forget when
think
they did the last.
the last guillotine execution was like in the 1980s, I think.
I believe. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
late 20th
Yeah.
century.
It's
But that was
efficient as
also.
fuck. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Clean. It's efficient. It works.
so talking about resistance, there's two types of resistance, and they showed both of those in this film, active and passive. So active is going up and shooting the police officers with guns, point blank, and passive is the strike or not opening your shop or whatever, where technically you're not being violent, but you're making it hurt in different ways that technically they can't. Well, not they can't, but
Well,
technically
like with the wedding, they have the unregistered wedding,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
you're not participating in their form of government.
It's passive resistance. Yes, it's
Yeah.
but it's still resistance, but it's
Mhm.
just not violent. And active resistance is obviously what I just said. So, but I'm glad they showed both of those, and they showed a lot more passive resistance too, because usually films about resistance, from what I've seen, very little of them, but like they get boring because they just show the active resistance, and it's like, okay, it's an action flick, it's a war movie, okay, we get it. So
I hate shit like that because
Mhm.
it's not what it was. Again, it's like what is resistance? Not everybody can fucking make stens in their basement.
right,
Like it's not that. It's with your individual actions that you do on a daily basis to whatever your end goal is. There's a lot of French resistance or resistance museums in Europe about the Second World War, and you go to the French. I have friends that have done this. I haven't done this personally, but you go to the French one, and it's like we did everything. Everybody was in the resistance. Like during the war, there was the joke, the mothball army, because when the fucking guys rolled through, everybody put their old uniforms on. and they all fucking smelled like mothballs. So yeah, you definitely have been carrying a fucking Thompson for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the best museum I've been told about resistance is the one in Holland, which basically paints a picture of what is resistance. Can you resist? Is your grandmother going to go shoot a German? No. How do you live your life in an occupation?
Right.
And it's not as cut and dry as everybody thinks. Everybody wants to think, Again, it's not Pierre's going to show up with this plastic explosives. We're going to go blow up the train bridge. Like that fucking doesn't happen. It's a long process that gets there. But also touching on this too, I feel too, Nate, you might have got lost because in a way I feel like this film is like Come and See, and that it's made for a Pacific audience at a specific time after they won their revolution. Because, this film is for Algerians. It's obviously it was made by Europeans, a lot of French cinema, a lot of Italian cinema influences, you can tell. But like it's a film made for a country that just gained their independence after a horrible, long struggle. And again, like unless you were a Belarusian in 1943 and lived through the fucking operations, you won't get Come and See. And to a certain extent, 60 years removed from a North African culture, I could see the same aspects, like whatever. And before I get off my soapbox, I got really cool vibes from this movie as far as like Zulu, because for a script about the oppressor, they do paint the French in a pretty equal light. Yes, they show the bad things they do, but like
they did bad shit too.
Like
it's equal.
Yeah, but it's not like an anti-French movie though.
Nope.
It's like it's an anti-oppressor movie. Like it doesn't matter, what language they speak, where they're from. It's like, I don't feel like the film demonized the French. They demonized their actions, but it's not like, at the end of the film, I feel like, oh, hey, France is a country to our north, not, death to America or something. Like, I thought it was very equally made, especially being 4 years after their fucking 10 years after the events occurred and 4 years after the war happened.
Right. And kind of something that I noticed about this and like reflecting now, I'm still, kind of processing it. I watched it several hours ago, but like, it doesn't seem like it's made for entertainment. It's more of here's what happened and we want people to know. Like not a documentary, but like something of like
a docudrama.
Docudrama, yeah, that would be a more accurate term.
I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so I actually like that because I do get sick of like on this podcast. What percentage of films that we've reviewed and we're going to review do you think are made for entertainment? Just
80,
that's exactly what I was going to say. 80 to 85. Yeah. All right,
mm-hmm.
And it's nice and kind of refreshing once in a while, like an Ungentlemanly Act, right? That was the same vein of where it didn't seem like it was made for entertainment. It just seemed like it was made, here's what happened. We're trying to get it as close to what happened as possible so people will understand. We're not taking sides. There's no good guys. There's no bad guys. Everybody's, and that's like the vibe I'm kind of getting from what you're saying and this film itself is like, it was made to just show what happened. And it's a really a nice, fresh breath of air when we see things like this once in a while, because it's like, okay, cool. These do exist. It's not all just for entertainment and making money. It's like now we have a better understanding. We're closer to what actually happened than we were before we watched the film. So that to me is a very positive thing overall about this thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as they say, there's always three sides to a story: my side, your side, and the truth.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you'll never get to the truth, but it's just very reassuring to see these films. Just that they try to cut an even path.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're always gonna have biases, obviously, but like,
yeah. But if you can minimize those biases as much as possible, you get good stuff like this. So.
Oh yeah, and it's funny too because so many people today they won't watch older black and white films for stupid reasons.
I don't like black and white. I'll be totally honest. I don't like it.
I wonder if. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that might be,
go ahead.
That might be one of the reasons why I think I might have been slightly bored as well. Is that it's black and white, it's in subtitles. Not that I don't like subtitles, I like subtitles. It just black and white subtitles, 1960s pacing and cadence. I just think it just had like a trifecta of just my attention span just can't just deal
That
with
was
it.
the reason I
And
understand.
you
Is
can
that was my first
insult
10
and
minutes.
you can insult me right now,
Nope.
Brian, because I saw your insult face come on
No.
of like, oh, well, that works for a southerner fucking hick person, like.
Wow. So, well, I'm on the. There's only one side of the Hudson to be on. It's mine. But no, like Mike gets a pass. He's also a Yankee. But what do you call it?
I'm a Yankee.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that! I'm not from New England. Fuck that.
Yeah, but did you wear blue or gray 150 years ago?
Blue with a Hardy hat, man. You guys didn't have any fucking Hardy hats.
There you go.
You're a fucking Yankee.
I'm getting a raging clue over here. But what do you call it? No, Nate, it's just I actually thought a lot about this last night after I watched the movie. And it's like, in my opinion, this film is a much better film than Kelly's Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a much more meaningful, real story about events that occurred. That doesn't mean that I don't love Kelly's Heroes and I want to watch it all the fucking time.
Absolutely.
But it's hard to judge art. But what I'm trying to get at, I don't know, is that like I'll watch anything because I love the art form and I want to see how people solve these problems throughout every century, from the 1890s to today. And so that's just me. I grew up on silent films, so that's just how I am. But I really thought about it last night, and I'm just like, I feel like it's a fallacy for people just like, oh, I'm not going to watch that because it's black and white or whatever. I get that it's boring, but like, I honestly feel like the real problem is that media consumption has moved on so fast, or it's moved on so quickly in such a short period of time that like even me in my late 20s, I kind of can't resonate with kids in their teens because like, I got a smartphone when I was like in fucking 9th grade. I had a childhood. Like I had that. They don't know what that was like. So they can't comprehend, so we have a different level because for them, they've had tablets of everything. So they're grown up, so that's life. So like bringing it back to these eras, like to the first movie and stuff, like fucking, it blew people away because, oh my God, moving pictures and like, talkies, whatever, it really grew on itself. So to take someone from the modern era and like, plop them back 60 years into a different mode, style, format of filmmaking, I can understand why people are like, this is fucking the boringest piece of shit ever. Compared to, and I'm saying this generally, compared to like TikTok or the media that we get today, it's very hard for people to comprehend. And I'm not targeting you, I'm just targeting it as a whole, So that's fine that like, that's it. But I really feel like that the way that media has changed how we consume it is a big factor. Because, who the fuck wants to sit through Gone with the Wind, even though it's amazing? Like just there's not that, unless you have that drive and that real want, like people don't give a shit about stuff made before 1980. And even that's old for the newest generation, like fucking, I know so many filmmakers that haven't seen Godfather or Jaws. Fucking, like,
which is insane.
I've actually never seen Godfather.
Yeah.
What?
Never has. Nope. I've seen Jaws.
Oh my
times,
God.
But Cooper hasn't seen Godfather either. And told me he didn't want to. And I'm just like, how could
you gotta at least see Godfather 1. You don't need to watch 2 or 3. Just watch 1.
2 is better than 1.
Yes.
Anyway,
1 is at least really good to start it off with. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, like
obviously.
I get it. It's just if you showed somebody today a movie from the 1890s and then cinema progressed, they'd respect it. But it's so you can't go back. It's like, Nate, if I go to your house and like you're smelting steel in your fucking yard to go make like a bed frame, and it's like you can go to IKEA.
I have done that.
Like,
yes,
yeah. You probably have. But like, it's just it's really hard to go back.
Yes,
and I feel like that's what it is. So,
I can.
There really is something to say.
No, I can understand that. I mean, like it's to use a form of media that I really understand. It's like I collect vintage video games and I love collecting vintage video games. I love playing vintage video games. But there's some video games I go back and play from like maybe, their late 90s and I go, this is a piece of shit. And it's like I can't even play this because it's a piece of shit. And I don't mean like the way, I mean like it just looks bad. I'm like, my eyes, oh God, Hagrid, if we use Harry Potter PS1 meme of Hagrid. You know, I look like Hagrid this morning, and it's Hagrid's face being stretched over 3 triangles. It's like, oh god. But no, I mean, like, no, I agree with what you're saying. Like, and as well as like, I'll also just make sure I say it again. It's like I like this movie. I think it's really, really interesting, and I think its subject matter is very like like as the movie went on, I got less and less bored, but it was like that draw. It was like that the runway, the running before the leap was really long for me, and that's where I kind of struggled with. Like, let's say the last 30 minutes, I was watching, I didn't fall asleep, I was fine, it was good, and I understood and I liked it, which is why I was seeing like really good cinematography or at least action captured. Like, you know, the because I'm a very visual person, I'm an editor, so like that's what I really lock onto. Like when they're going through the apartment complexes and like kicking everyone out, there's this guy booting around a toddler. Like, I don't know if if you saw that, like, and like, I was like, damn. And like, you know, the explosion at
those alleyways in a casbah, so cool.
Right,
how they're able to get like all the angles and
yeah,
stuff. And,
like,
they're running around one building and the French are coming from the other way. Like that was fucking
it's
crazy.
really good cinematography, and like, and that stuff was keeping me going. I really think it was the running start before the leap that was just really kind of just like, okay, get me to where I can start like really engaging here, because without the historical context, without the interest, it's like it was a gruel. And I think that's my own trauma from fucking film school. That's the reason why. But you know, it was, you know, I might say I'm saying it's boring and I was bored for the most part. It doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the film. And the really cool thing, the one thing I really liked about it was like those explosions, man. Those actors who were just in the middle of that shit, like like
when they had the one at like the horse racing ring,
and the glass
the
wall,
that
glass partition just shatters. Like it was like I was like, damn, like
so it's real reactions too. Yeah, it's like
now that we're there, so I think my favorite scene of the whole movie was the bombing scene. And not because, the bombing scene, but like, you can't fucking shoot that today. You fucking can't shoot a terrorist smuggling a bomb through a checkpoint, finding targets, women and children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
you can't. You can't.
Like in a post.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a post 9/11 world, like that's impossible. So that was like really insane for me to watch and like respect. The only thing I can think of about that in the modern realm is in Zero Dark 30, there's a scene where it's from the other side, where the one restaurant in the Hilton or something in Kabul or somewhere around the world gets bombed. You know, and you see the results of a terrorist attack from the victims. But to show them do this, and like, I love the bomb tech. Fucking wires are falling off. Like, you know, you expect this guy to know what he's doing, and like, he's not an expert. Fucking, you know, it's like, hey, he had a construction company, and now he does this.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know, I love that, but it's so horrible, and it's so, you know, oh my god, you're targeting civilians, but at the same time, it's just fascinating, you know, like how they showed that. Like, what do you do? How are you going to approach this? You know,
I do like it how they went from, they showed the first one going off, then the second one going off with the hesitation and like,
the people like,
I like the song. Will everyone be out on the street when the second one happens? Because they showed that, and then I liked it. And not liked it, but you understand my point. It's like then they like, it's so much of a delay, and they come back and then they get nailed, and then they don't even show the third one. You just hear it. So again,
you see the aftermath.
Yeah. So like again, like that. Again, I think what I'm saying is like, I'm bored, but not for the reasons that you would normally think. It's not the content; it's like the delivery and the cadence. Like I've said a couple times already. I think that was where I was struggling. It's not it's not that what's in the film is boring. I just think it's just for my ADD riddled brain. It was just and my trauma through film school of le haut et fin. Ugh. Like that was just, I think, what was killing me. But you know, going through and seeing it like, although I will say, I personally had it's weird. Like the bombings didn't really kind of make me think or feel. I mean, they did, but not as much as the ambulance drive-bys.
That was crazy.
And the driving through people, and then, but the thing is, I don't know if I had missed something. I'm like, why is this like out of nowhere? Like, who are these people? What are they doing? Why is this thing like? And it felt very, I don't know. It hit a different level for me. And I think with, growing up in a, being 11 years old during 9/11, it was very much of a big thing for me to see that. And I kind of went like, ooh, like, I don't like that. Like, it's weird. It was just weird. It hit a level of me. I was like, ooh, like, I don't know what it was, but I felt that. And I was just like, okay.
It's something that's, not expected at all. Fuck, I'm losing my train of thought. It's just not a scene that you expect to see and all those things going on. I think the reason they put that in there is because like you're just trying to show all the built-up tension, and finally these kids are like, "Fuck it, we'll steal an ambulance and kill a bunch of French people." And here they are.
I think it was more like the weird. I think what was really nailing me was the just kill people to kill people in the street because they're French.
Yeah,
or in the French district, and I don't know. I think it resonated with a lot of the death to America kind of mentality of thing. Yeah. So I think that might be where I was feeling that.
Even the modern terrorist attacks in France and everything in Nice where they drive trucks through crowds.
Yeah, that was another reason why I was kind of like, ooh,
it's literally the same. Yeah. But it's in metropole now. It's not in the colonies. I just touched on so here it is. So one thing I did really like about this film and in all these scenes is how well the crowds were controlled. And like there's the one scene like where he goes to shoot the cop and he has no bullets in the gun. Yep. And like he's, aha, you fuck, I'm in charge. And then you see a look on his face. But you see like the crowd like run away.
Yep.
Like and they're all really far away. And I love that. It's like it's an arena. It's like what's happening. And you're in a city of how many tens of thousands of people, like, oh, there's a shooting, let's watch it. Let's go on. And that happened multiple times. Like in the bombing scene when the first one goes up, dude, there's literally like 2,000 people on the street.
Yeah.
Like watching everything. And those are real, that's not CGI, that's real people.
Yep.
It's real town. That was great. And the other thing too that was great with crowds was that after one of the attacks, they have like the beggar who's just like on the street.
Yeah.
The cart, and all the people that were yelling at him. And it just goes to show how sensationalized people are. And that was, God, there's so much to talk about with this because, like, the fact that they showed how shitty the French were to the, Algerians was great. Like, when he tripped Ali in the beginning and he was laughing. Like, that was great. Because that's, like, him, it's a game to this guy. He's in a part of his country that's, oh, look at the people that live here. Like, you could tell that, the French were just on a different plane as far as how they thought they were better than everybody else, and it just keeps on coming back and back and back. And it just really puts the characters in this corner of like, what the fuck? Like you're from Algeria, you grew up here, but you're a second-class citizen. And these people come from across the ocean, essentially, and they fucking fuck you up. Like, this is very cool. And you don't get a lot of films that get that. Like, that's real colonization, That's a sensationalized group of people that is in charge, just fucking flailing out at everybody they see who they think is doing wrong things. Because did that guy murder a cop? No. He's just fucking at the wrong place at the wrong time. And, but that was really cool how they really brought that element into the film.
Or the mob going after the bet boy.
Oh, that too. That was a great scene. Like, and the cops trying to save him and they're beating up the cop. And it's like, it just goes to show how people will put aggression in places. Like, would a group of people beat up a child? No. But under certain circumstances, if one group is different than the other group, then guess what? Anger is going to flare. And it's like, again, not to touch on 9/11 and stuff, but like all those, unfortunately, the Sikhs that were attacked.
Oh, God.
I was about to say that,
yeah. And it's horrible. These people that they're from South Asia and they have a similar culture to, the Middle Eastern culture and stuff. And fucking idiots don't understand the difference and they fucking attack them. Like even during the Second World War, like there were Chinese reporters that had to wear things like, I'm Chinese, not Japanese. Don't spit on me. Like,
it's just ignorance
forever. But
it's ignorant because like the Sikhs, it's funny, like kind of the irony in that whole persecution of the Sikhs, because people just didn't understand. They're not even from the Middle East. Like they're from India.
Yeah.
And guess what? They don't get along with the Muslims.
Yeah, right.
Like and they didn't. It's irony because you're attacking someone because you think they're of a certain ethnicity or whatever, and they don't get along with the same ethnicity that you're claiming them to be because you're too fucking ignorant. And it's like that like you said, it happens. It's happened forever. It's still gonna happen because people are stupid. And the fear, man, that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
In the wrong hands too.
Oh man, it's when you have fear, especially when you've got a lot of people that are scared of the same thing. Oof. Not good. One thing really quick before we move on a little bit is going back to the bombing scenes. So you guys were touching on the actual bombing itself. The part that fucked with me, and it was like, really, again, you really can't get away with this shit today unless you don't want your film to go anywhere or get ridiculed because it's whatever, is the cleanup, the recovery of the bodies by people. Both the Algerians, when that first house gets bombed by those police guys, and they're carrying out dead kids. All right. I mean, they're carrying out adults, but they're also carrying out dead kids, like really small kids. And everybody's quiet, and it's just like everybody's expressionless, fucking in shock, traumatized, but it's got to be done. And it's just like that methodical, or not methodical, that ritualistic, just here's how we have to do this, we have to get it done. Because you start have rotting bodies, it's not good for your family, it's not good for your religion, and you have to get that body taken care of as soon as possible for those reasons. But again, it's a hygiene reason, right? Especially when you're that close quarters. So it's like, okay, the dust hasn't even literally settled yet, and you're already taking out dead kids and dead people that died in this bombing for God knows what fucking reason. And also the French did the same thing when the Algerians bombed them. It's this ritualistic, just, all right, we have to bring all the bodies up, put them on stretchers, let's organize this. And then it's just like, I'm trying to look for a word. It's not ritualistic. It's just like this. Fuck, I can't. I'll think of the word again, like at 3 a.m. I'll wake up and be like, that's the word, fuck.
But, called Nathan.
Yeah. And, but anyway, it's just this thing that it just has to be done. We're going to do it. Like, so, and it's just like, it become, and I think what they were kind of alluding at is that it's just normal at this point. It's expected. It's like, well, this shit happens all the time. It sucks, but unfortunately we're numb to it. We're used to it. And therefore this is what we do. And that was really fucked up. So,
well, they were like, there's at one point they're like, there's an average of 4.5 attacks a day or something like that.
4.2.
4.2.
Yep.
And for 3-4 years, I mean,
straight.
It's not gonna make the news anymore. I was like, oh, you hear it?
You're desensitized to it.
Yeah. There's like some of the points, like the French party, and you hear shooting and this, that. It's like same things are happening in Indochina. At the same time, they had fucking nets over the cafes to stop grenades from falling in them and stuff. Like people are partying. It's like you see tracers in the hills, and it's like, I'll take a martini, please.
It's just exactly. It's fucked up when you get to a place where that's just part of life.
Yeah. Well, there's a great story where Kennedy goes to the DMV and food, or he goes to Saigon in '53, and that's happening, and he was like, these people are unrealistic. He's like, they can't win this war, and that's when Ike was like, let's just bomb the fucking Norks. But it's just crazy. Again, it's like this decolonization period is so fascinating because it's like, how did they deal with it? And the one empire that had its home nation occupied is the one that's the most vindictive for its colonies after the fact to get that lost prestige. De Gaulle was a piece of shit.
Yes,
literally. Like I can get into this for hours if we really want to, but he was such a piece of shit. And then he gets into the power of the French government, and he's like, "What are we gonna do? Liberty, égalité, freedom? No, we're gonna fucking put the Viet Minh in their place.
And we're gonna show them who's boss. We're gonna show them who's in charge."
And none of it worked. Even in Mali, they still have problems and all this shit. Like,
that's not. Well, Africa, their colonies in like South Central and even like Western Africa. That's completely fucked. This is like one of their northernmost colonies in Africa.
Oh yeah,
and this is the 50s, and that shit's been going on. I mean, that's a whole other subject, but like it is relevant. But like again, we can talk about that for fucking days. But it's like. This was one of the earlier colonies in Africa that started this shit. And then after Algeria got its independence in '62, then it was just kind of this chain reaction of the same kind of shit. And the French, they were like, well, then the Fourth Empire collapsed, or the Fourth, right? Yeah. I believe it was the 4th after de Gaulle because he was a fucking incompetent dipshit. But like,
yeah.
So, but I mean, that's
not join NATO. That worked well.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so it is a very fascinating time period because the French were probably on the scale that they did it at, right? Because I mean, Portugal, they did some wicked shit in Angola, and yeah,
people forget that. Mozambique,
Portugal, and
AR-10s and paratroopers.
Yeah, not really. They're not totally, innocent of.
Now it's like Denmark and Norway are these cute little countries that they're in the Scandinavian. They talk funny. It's like, dude, 400 years ago, fucking, you got a pike ram through your face.
Right.
These places, they're docile. Like, Portugal is like this destination place, but like, dude, fucking, like.
Oh,
they were empires of the world.
When
you
they
want
were
spices, motherfucker? You go to Portugal,
Right, when they were going up and down the west coast of Africa back in the day when they were trading. But anyway, that's different. So I mean, you got Portugal, you got Belgium that was doing bad shit and everything. Anyway,
and King Leopold was a great guy.
Anyway, so but I would say that like I'm just acknowledging that I know that there was other countries that were guilty of doing bad shit, but on the scale, the French have everybody beat. Because that was literally worldwide. And their tactics, like you said, because they were, I don't know if it's because they were occupied directly and they for 4 years, well, almost 5, they were under such oppression and just this police state on steroids that's how they were like, well, hey, that worked because guess what? They killed a lot of our friends. They got a lot of our people, to go away and never come back. We got sent to camps. Well, hey, guess what? That minimized the resistance that we could do. So let's just use the same tactics, like you said earlier. But what the fuck? Like most of the Western world fought a war to stop that practice, But it's like, again, if it's familiar and it's effective, I guess that's what you're going to be doing.
That's why I love it was summed up in the film with you, like when the general attacks the reporter, he was like, you have no right for morality. It's a very simple question. Should Algiers remain French?
Right.
And if your answer is yes, then our methods are justified.
Correct.
If our answer is no, then we leave. And that's what is great about this film is that that's what it comes down to. It's like, how far are you willing to go to keep this place French?
Correct. Yep. And it's
how deep.
And that was that whole scene with the press. That was really, I love that scene too. Like out of all of the scenes, that was probably. Because that colonel, like, that was a real dude, and he, like, here's the thing is he didn't fucking lie. He just wasn't being asked the correct questions until that one reporter said, hey, you're not being direct because you're not being asked direct questions because my colleagues are fucking scared of saying the wrong thing. Yep. And then that's when he gives him that line. And it's like, that was completely honest. It was diplomatic as fuck. And that's what it is, or what it was. Yeah. That's what it was at that time. That's exactly the situation. And that, like you said, it sums up the whole thing perfect, And but that whole, and then when he's like, your methods are, we're talking about legality and shit. And he goes, well, it's also illegal to plant bombs in places and kill people, right? Well, so it's like, yeah, again, when you said that the French were portrayed as not like the Gestapo, basically, but like just guys that were using methods, and it's on an even playing field. Yeah. So the NLF is bombing civilians, right? They're not hitting military targets, they're hitting civilians. Well, these guys, targets, and then so the French are going to do the same shit. It's like nobody wins in a situation like that, but it happens all the time. It's happening right now as we speak. So
yeah, right. I think in my notes I put both sides will break the rules if it means they can get the upper hand.
Correct.
Like that's all a real struggle like this is when you're fighting for a country. It's like, rules don't matter. It's what can we do to hurt them? And how many can we get in the morgue and still feel whole? And how can we rebuild after they fuck us up?
Well, and that's what when the initial leader of the NLF was talking with Ali when they were getting him out of there, and he said, and he was going through the stages of revolution, like you said, the guerrilla, the conflict, and then he goes, fascinating. Yeah. He goes or something like the hardest part is what comes after all that.
Yeah, it is so true.
It is very true because look at what happened.
Look at Zimbabwe.
Yep.
I mean, all these countries. The revolution is half the battle.
Yep.
And there's even. I will get to it eventually. One of my favorite films ever, Dr. Zhivago. Oh God, I love that movie. about the Russian Revolution and everything. And there's a great line in it from a commissar, and he's like, "Once the military revolution is over, everybody will be reweighed for their political strength, regardless of what they did in the revolution."
Exactly.
And if you look at the Russian Revolution, Trotsky, all these people, like, why does this photo of 5 people with Stalin turn into Stalin by 1940? So it's just fascinating. It's like, I hate politics, but they all play into it.
Well, here's the thing with military history is you have. That's the thing. I was talking with one of my professors when I was in college, and he kind of said that in order to understand military history, you have to understand politics, you have to understand economics, you have to understand multiple facets of a historical discipline. Like, because you've got political history, you've got military history, you've got social history, you've got all these different kind of subcategories of history that people specialize in. Well, with history, in order to be effective, you have to know what is going on politically, economically, socially, all that stuff. At that time, you have to understand all of that to understand why the military and what part the military played and why this happened. Because here's the thing is, the military is not generally used when things are going well. It's not generally used when the things are going well. The military is generally used when things are going to shit in one way or the other. So
war is the last act of a politician.
Yeah.
It's your
should be.
Right. But it's traditionally there's nothing else is left.
Yep.
And I'd call myself an amateur historian for 20 years now, just
Same
reading history, military history and stuff. And it wasn't until the last 5 or 6 years that I really realized, mostly through a really good YouTuber I watched called Tick. He does amazing documentaries.
I saw his stuff on Market Garden. I love it. I love his presentation style.
Dude, it's so good.
It's
Have you
really
finished it, or
no, I was doing it when I was cleaning my office, and I got to finish it. But here's the thing: is he has such good visuals, so good. And I was just listening to it. And I'm like,
that's like one of his first documentaries too.
Right. I had to stop it because I'm like, I'm listening to it. I'm absorbing it because it's really portrayed well. But like his visuals it just adds, like, you understand it even more. So I was like, I got to stop this and actually just sit down and watch the rest of it. But no, that is fantastic. Like I love that. So anyway.
Yeah, no, he's great. If people haven't heard of him, look him up. He's really good. But he did all these military videos, and he started to do economic and political videos. And people were like, just stick to tanks. And he made a whole series like, fuck you. No. You don't get the full story.
Exactly.
Like, you don't know why the guys are fucking getting no food at Stalingrad if you don't understand that half the Luftwaffe's air fleet was fucking delivering shit to Tunisia because the Americans landed. Like, you have to look at the whole picture, and that you have to conceptualize it. Because if you don't do that, it's just facts that are that are amalgamated that don't make any sense.
They're written down. There's a reason that facts are written down.
Yeah,
making sense of it is the job of a historian.
Yeah, right. And A happens, or B happens after A. C happens after. Like, there's a progression for these things. Like, and the more you read into it, the bigger picture you get. Like, for example, like I try to read everything on the Second World War because you just get facts from here and there that all align. Something I found out this week that's fascinating. In mid-November of 1941. George Marshall, the American, I forget the term, Secretary of War or Secretary of State.
Yeah.
No, he was Secretary of War.
Yeah.
Had a meeting with 10 top correspondents. Robert Sherrod was one of them. He was very famous in the Second World War. Basically saying, we're at the brink of war with Japan, and that if we can get through the December 1st to 10th period, we should be able to stave off the war until February. But war is imminent. Japan. This is the first fucking week in November, 1941. This is a month before Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And fucking, they knew the writing on the wall. And it's like just fucking fascinating to think about that. Like, our idea of America before the war is so different than in reality.
Right.
We were this nation that was stabbed in the back by the Japs.
No.
We fucking froze their assets. We fucking did everything we could. Roosevelt wanted to go to war with them over them invading Indochina in the middle of 1941. Like, unless you read the real history and pick up these facts along the way, that's how you build a picture. But you have to do the work. And without doing the work, you're never going to get it. And you have to do the work in all the fields. That's why, it takes forever to be a good historian. Like, James, we've had on here, James Gregory, the World War I York historian and stuff. Like, he hates other historians that don't do their work because he's like, you can't fucking do that. You have to do everything. You have to have your endnotes. You have to have your sources. You can't fucking lie. Right. All you're doing by lying is you're fucking up other people's research, and you're just prolonging a problem that's existing. So,
And
you have to do all your research.
You're propagating myths to become reality when they're not. And that's how history gets warped and twisted and forever. Like, I mean, there's so many fallacies. Like he's, covered extensively. And his book's coming out in a couple weeks, actually, on the 19th, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, that is. Yep,
yeah, December 19th. The other 16, you should definitely pick up a copy of that. I think you can pre-order them right now.
After you check out Tick on YouTube, go head over to the other 16
on Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon. Yeah.
But anyway, no, I mean, like, again, we don't endorse shit that we don't believe in.
We endorse people that we love.
Yeah, and who actually do the work. But yeah, his debunking is going to cause a lot of waves because there's been so many lies perpetuated for the past 100 fucking years that people just believe it as fact. And when people believe something for a long time,
gobble,
it's
gobble,
just
gobble, gobble, gobble.
yeah, exactly. But like when they believe that kind of shit, like they're gonna get pissed off when they go, "Oh, everything I was told and I believe is not correct." Oh, fuck. So that, and if you just don't lie and you actually do the fucking work, you can mitigate a lot of that shit. You can mitigate a lot of messing with people's perception of what actually went down, and it's not always glorious, but I mean, it is what it is. And so, yeah, I mean, we got off on a tangent, but that's why I kind of like this film, is because it seems like, well, this is what it is,
Yeah, and to kind of build off that with the film, like they could have easily made this like the Algerian Braveheart,
yes,
or Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
Like fuck those goddamn fucking baguette eating faggots. Fucking stop them to the curb. They're the enemy, and they always will be.
Yes.
But they didn't.
Nope.
This country that had 130 years of oppression came out of it and said, this is what happened in the last 10 years.
And we fought and we won.
And
in the end. Yep.
We got our independence.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
It's just great. Like again, with Zulu, you could have painted that as like us versus them, and we won.
Yep.
And again, they did that 60%, but they also showed that the Zulu had command and control.
And
they weren't just a group of fucking bumbling idiots that was trying to do something. Like,
yeah,
you got to have that. So it's so great, and you gain so much more. Like, what do you get by having Steamboat Willie, quote unquote, in Saving Private Ryan? Except the stupid character that takes up time. That's the German guy that
I know. I'm aware of who Steamboat Willie is.
For people that don't know, but like, like, what do you gain? You gain nothing. What did you gain? A German perspective? No, you gain that you fucking shoot every prisoner you meet. Like, there's nothing learned there. But from things like this, you learn like it's the actions of people that make them criminals or terror or whatever. It's not the person themselves.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But no, it's awesome, and I think this is the time we should move on to IMFDB.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of cool guns.
They did a really good job from what I could see. So yeah.
So there were a lot of cool guns in this, and I'll just preface it with this. Sean, who we've had in the channel a lot, he loves this history and everything, French history, and I talked to him a lot about this, and he said that basically all the weapons that they used, at least the FLN used, were all World War II weapons, because they'd all been left there from Torch or the Germans or old French stuff. So it was originally like all surplus 40 stuff, and stuff they would have stolen from the French. So that's just kind of what happened in reality. But Smith & Wesson. That's like the Model 10 is actually the victory model from the Second World War, I think, right?
Yeah, but well,
different?
I think because the model, there's so many variations. I have a Model 10-6 hanging right there. So it's the heavy barrel. So there was like a 10-1, 10-2, 10-3. So they made these things through the 70s. It's a very popular design. They're freaking awesome pistols.
They're great guns.
Yep.
Yeah. It was cool to see, and it's nice to see revolvers used in films as well.
Oh, for sure. Yep. The MLE, yep.
Oh, that was great. Yep, the good old LaBelle revolver. I love the bead corn front sight.
Mm-hmm. I want to get one of those someday.
You don't have? Oh, wow.
No, I almost got one a while back, but it was from Empire Arms, and I was hemming and hawing, and I'm like, hey, so-and-so, talk me out of this. They're like, get it. And I'm like, fuck. And so I emailed Dennis, and he's like, you're about 5 minutes too late. I'm like, good. I don't have the money for it right now. But yeah, eventually.
They're strange guns because they were made for the cavalry. You can only load them from the right hand.
Mm-hmm.
So like the right hand side. So they're very awkward to shoot, but they're very interesting pistols. And they share a lot of similarities with the 1895 Nagants.
Well, yeah, it's the same time period. So.
Yeah, I think the Nagant brothers also helped design both of the rifles, or both of the
pistols. Well, Leon Nagant was a Belgian guy, so probably.
Yeah, it was all the early FN stuff. Ooh, I didn't know there's a Model T.
Yep. He pulls it off of one of the police officers. Yep.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I love it when he cut the lanyard too.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. He does.
That was,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, right. Well, I've seen World War II take home like Nambus and stuff
with the cut lanyards.
The lanyards are cut.
Yeah.
That's always cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great scene in the police.
Two world wars.
Hell yeah, brother. Oh, yep. We're right where 1911 should be, and your crotch.
Yeah, pointing right at your dick.
Yeah.
If you want to do the job right.
Only steel on my hip.
Oh God. Brought to you by Algerian.
Only steel in my crotch.
Yep. Yeah. Only steel in my waistband. The Mat 49. Yeah, that's
I love the Mat 49.
It's a great submachine gun.
A fucking stupid, wonky looking piece of shit, but it's so fucking amazing, and I want two of them.
That's just French guns in general.
Because I need two of them.
That's just what you just said. Stupid, wonky looking piece of shit, but it works phenomenally and it's great. That's French guns in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's like we captured tens of thousands of MP40s and MP44s. We're gonna make this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this in the Universal Hotchkiss.
Well, yeah. Have you ever seen the requirements? Like when they were trying to design this, and the government's like, "Here's the requirements." Actually. Like it was
brick with a barrel.
Well, it was cool because you could fold the magazine well forward, and it makes it more compact. So it's like you see
that in the film too.
Yeah, you do. Yep, a couple times. And but this thing went through a lot of freaking trials and tribulations, and actually, this was the final result. And man, did that work great for them.
Did they shoot? Did they shoot like Sten mags out of it, or their equivalent of a Sten mag, or what was?
No, they're on mag.
It's not a Sten mag, but
they're different.
I mean, it's still it's similar. They all look similar,
right?
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I say that, and then I see how far down the mag was.
Yeah, it's its own proprietary mag. But
I retract that statement. It just looked like
it's more like a Beretta 38 mag with the dimples in the bottom.
Yeah.
So. But they were great, and it's funny. They all have blank adapters. That's one thing.
Didn't the North Vietnamese make their own?
You're thinking of the
Nope. No. They modified these with 7.6225.
Yeah,
they modified these in 7.6225.
Yes,
you can tell because the barrels are a lot longer on them, and then they
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they modified a shit ton of these, and
they rechambered them, but what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah. You might be thinking of the PPSH that they cut down. Looks the KM50s.
I do know what you're talking about, but it's not that. They actually made it was called like the Mat 49 like D or something. Like they made.
Yeah, that's what. Like it's the converted 7.62.
Yeah, but they did like something else. It's like it was the barrel was longer, but then there was also like something else with it. I'll have to go back in my memory.
Well, they had to change they probably had to change the bolt face a little bit because the 7.625 is a little bit narrower than the 9.
It was something cosmetically, and I can't remember what it is. Sean would know off the top of his head. I don't remember what it is though, but yeah,
it's a great submachine gun.
I'll tell you. Oh, they're so good, and I love. And there's actually parts kit on Gunbroker right now.
Oh, is there? Oh fuck!
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay.
Dude, they're so cool.
I can't go look at that.
The receiver repair section.
Yeah.
I almost bought a rubber duckling one a few years ago, and I'm fucking kick myself every day. It's cool. It's cool to have.
Something of the same before we go down. Something of the same era is the Madsen 50. Have you seen those?
Yeah, the Swedish.
Yes. Yeah, they're in every.
Or no. The Madsen was
the M50s.
Yeah, the KM50, and then
the ones that split. The receiver is just sheet metal that splits apart on a hinge. Yeah, those are so intriguing. I mean, of course
they are.
I mean, of course, the Danish make something crazy, weird. You know.
Well, the Swedes came out with the Model K, which was fucking cool. It was I don't know if that was a little bit later, but those were extensively used in Vietnam.
M45.
Yeah, the K. Yep. The KM45, and
the Smith and Wesson 76s were kind of a version of actually the M50 and the Swedish K.
Yeah, and there was in 45, but yeah, so I love submachine guns. They're so cool, but
dude, I got a problem with Swedish Ks. I love them.
Oh, that's on my list. Like eventually, if I'm ever a billionaire.
Stock's a wobbly piece of shit. I know, right? We're gonna have to get your 240 Bravo.
Yeah, that's number one.
I have a question, and then we'll go down to the next one. If what would be? Let's put it in World War II era because that's what we all know commonly. Is what would be your favorite World War II submachine gun?
PPSH 41.
What about you, Ryan?
Grease gun.
Yeah.
It's the most controllable.
Yeah.
It's like it's there and it works and it's really reliable, and I mean it shoots a pretty good slug. I mean you're basically lobbing 45 at people.
Yeah.
But like Thompsons are nice, but they're really heavy.
Yep.
And they're very complicated.
And they're fast. They're too fast for the 45.
You drop and they shoot. MP40 is kind of too heavy for.
Yeah, they're really heavy. Yeah.
Grease gun. I mean, grease gun is heavy in itself, but because it's so heavy, it has like no recoil. So that's what I
shot both full auto, and and the 41 is the weight on the 41 makes that fire rate a lot easier to control than you think, but it's way too fast for the mag capacity that you have for that gun.
That's why you fire in bursts.
Yes, exactly. The grease gun, though, man, I was blown away by that. I've talked about this in previous episodes about the grease gun, but Jesus, like I hated that gun until I live fired it, and I was like, wow, okay, I love this fucking thing. And I know that was the same kind of feeling with the GIs too, even of the era. So
the only problem that they had during the Second World War, was the charging handles broke.
Right, which is why they went
that
for
was the really only.
They went for that little nub.
Well, yeah, the A1 they put it in the bolts, but in the field they would mill out a channel on the right side of the receiver and they would put an actual charging handle in the grease gun. You see them; it's like literally like a little bolt, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
But no, I would go with the grease gun because it's just again reasons I said it's just controllable. It's the cheapest, best submachine in the world.
I think
change my mind.
I think I would. I don't like the look of the grease gun, but I like the look of the 41 so much better. And it doesn't
matter. It looks like.
But I haven't fired a Swoomy, so I don't know if that would also be one of my favorites.
Yeah, KP-31.
Yeah, that
I have a
because that's so close to the 41.
Well, that's they ripped it off. Like the Soviets ripped off.
No. I know. It's just the craftsmanship of the 41 is really, the 31 is really good, and the 41 is good, but it's Russian mass production quality. And I think the only thing that would maybe go close, but I will never see one in life is the PPD, which would be the combination of like the Swoomy 31s and the PPSH 41s.
They apparently used some PPDs in the early part or the later parts of the Winter War because they were just starting to make them.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah,
they got the concept from the Finns.
Exactly. Yeah,
but
it's weird. It's not like the 41 where it has that mag well that's all metal that goes up into it. It's like it's like the point of I was gonna say
it's recessed.
No, it's below. It's like
the magazine goes into the
receiver. Yes.
The magwell is recessed.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. You're right. You're correct. Yeah. And it's just weird because when you look at the 41, it's like the mag becomes a part of like the rifle almost.
If you take a Sumi mag and a PPSH mag, they're the same fucking thing. Like the drum mags, that is. If you take them apart and everything, because
the only thing that's different is the quality of the springs inside, and the only thing that's different in terms of the latch of the mechanisms is the latch that it can sit in. I think if I remember correctly, a PPSH mag can go into a Swoomy, but a Swoomy mag cannot go into a 41.
Yes, I think it's like the FAL thing. Yeah, inch versus metric.
Yeah, and all it is that the 41 mags have a step, and the Swoomies are straight.
And just a funny side note that we're on this. So I was doing research for a sniper movie that I didn't end up making, unfortunately, but I read about every World War II sniper, and Simo Hatta came up. The White Death?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got all those kills in the Winter War. Well, something that you don't hear about, he got like, I think, 420 kills, I think. Half of them were taken with a Sumi.
Mm-hmm.
So he got over 600 kills, but over 400 of those were the Swoomy, and then he...
Well, I know, but his official title, though, half of that number is 100% Sumi, at least.
It's more than half. It's more than half. It's like almost 70% of his confirmed kills were with that thing, and then he got the 2830, and then did the rest of his work with that until he was wounded. So, yeah, but everybody's like, oh, he's just the most lethal sniper in history. Well, he's one of them, but like he got most of his kills with a submachine gun.
We'll get to the movie eventually, and it's actually have a funny connection to it now. I'll get into another point, but Talvasota, the winter war film, is just it's such a good film, and it shows how devastating a submachine gun is when there's only one or two of them on a battlefield. But they actually during the war they had a badge that was if you got 200 confirmed kills with a Sumi, you were given this badge, and they handed out like over a few hundred of them.
Yeah,
like it just kind of shows the crazy fighting. Like I know Finnish machine gunners had to get switched out every 3 days on the Mannerheim line because they would literally shake themselves to craziness because they were murdering so many people.
Right.
Because the Russians were just running into their Maxims and everything, and it's like I can go on a tangent, but Sumis are great.
Really Sumis are great, and it's and to tie in another movie, also Unknown Soldier, which I hopefully will do at some point as well.
Which one?
Unknown Soldier.
I think I've seen that one.
Oh,
it's really good. Well, it's really good.
The original one is really good too.
The 2014 one is really good as well. Like really good.
Yeah.
Like
that's that book for that is so amazing. Oh my god! If Finnish war movies is a subject I know a lot about that I love to talk about at one point. It's just there's so many of them because it's so patriotic. But anyway, we'll
keep going. Yeah, sorry for the tangent. I was just curious.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
This is a fucking awesome rifle, the Maus 36. Oh my god! And I did a rant in one of my recent videos, like the price differential. They used to be like $200 all day, and you couldn't give them away because nobody wanted them. Oh, French or whatever. But like, I was like all over these things back in the day, and still luckily have one of them. I had a 3650.
I wish I went for them then, because man, I have one that's all but like chopped up, and I was lucky to get that for what I paid for it.
I have one that was chopped up by the Vietnamese when it was carried down the fucking Ho Chi Minh Trail and brought back by a guy in 1970. my Maus is so fucked. It was 45 L block that went to Indochina and never came back until 70. The butt plate fell off at one point, and they just kept using it. So like an inch of the butt plate is just wood is smashed because it's been used. Like there was a rope sling in it. It's a pretty crazy gun because it's a gun that got left behind. But they're great rifles.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. And then the Maus 49. Yep,
I need one.
You better do it fast because they're getting more and more.
Or 44.
Oh yeah, good luck with a 44. Jesus Christ.
You see them, dude.
They're expensive though. Holy shit.
It's like an SVT. It sucks, but I want it.
Yeah.
And they're the real French ones too. They're not the Syrian ones.
Right. Yeah, no, the 49 is a great rifle. I got a 49-56, obviously, so it's just shorter, but the action itself, oh man.
Yeah, same thing. Mm-hmm.
So
well, it's actually the Maus 40, but whoops, they evaded too quickly.
Yeah.
Because they were in, they actually had, I think, 10 or 15 of the rifles produced when the Germans showed up at the factory, and they disassembled them, and for some reason the Germans never found out about the semi-automatic program in France. That would have changed the war.
Direct gas impingement. Anyway. Yeah, that was a fun thing around 1938 to 40. And then the Swedes used it and the French used it. And that's it.
Oh, the Americans used it too.
Direct gas impingement in World War II? No, they didn't.
With the Garand, yeah.
It's not direct. No, it's a long stroke piston.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, I'm talking like the direct gas impingement, like on an AR-15. There was the Maus
carbine.
No, that's a short stroke piston. That's a short stroke piston. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yep, I got you.
So the AG-42, the Jungmann AG-42, and the Maus 40 or 44, those were like the two that were direct gas impingement, and then later on the Hakim that was ripped off, and the Rashid from the AG-42. But yeah, and the AR-15.
Didn't know that.
So, yep.
It's funny. I like to collect semi-autos, but I realized that I don't have either of those, and I need to buy them. But that's very interesting because I just love the mechanics behind them now. But that's very interesting. You're right. It's a totally different gas system.
Yep.
Because as we're on it, here's a Garand. I just love these guns because the Garand is great because we spent 4 years fucking it up, and then we perfected what a semi-auto was in 1940, and then the Germans spent 4 years fucking it up, and they perfected what a semi-auto was in 1945.
Right.
So it's funny, like. They went through the same exact process, but different periods of time.
There's a lot of engineering going on in the late 30s and mid and early 40s. Like,
oh yeah, and the Garand is just half of it's stolen from an RSC. If you really want to get technical,
well, right, but it's just improved and kind of streamlined. Yeah, but like, the M1 is, and there's not a lot of long stroke piston semi-autos. The M1 and then the AK, but like, you don't see a lot of long strokes because it does affect accuracy with the harmonics. They found that out.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Like, because the whole it contorts or not contorts it. Well, it does kind of contort the rifle. If you watch it in slow
Those
motion,
op rods bend. It makes sense.
yeah, and so yeah, that's why short stroke pistons are favored because it doesn't shock the rifle as much, and it just moves the action more or less. So anyway, fucking tangent. Anyway, yeah, the M1. That's totally accurate. They had a lot of those, and then the M1 carbines, which we'll get to, I'm sure. And
thank you, Uncle Sam.
Why I'm curious though as to why we didn't see any 1917s, because I'm pretty sure they would have had those, because the Free French were armed with those, and there would have been a shitload left over. So that was interesting. I mean, it's nothing against. It doesn't take anything away. I'm surprised that I didn't see one or a couple.
Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, they would have probably had M1s anyway in the late 50s. But who knows? Yep, M1 carbine.
Yeah,
super popular in Europe after World War II in the West.
Oh yeah, well it's the Western assault rifle.
Yeah, it's a great little gun. So
if you need, so they never really touched on this, but I definitely saw it.
I didn't even see that.
The machine gun. Yeah,
where is it?
I saw it at a few points right there.
Where?
Guy with the belted ammo.
Oh, it looked. It looked like a Mat 49.
I was just yeah.
Yeah, I saw the bipod a few scenes. Like, what the fuck? I know nothing about these. It looks like a Star Wars.
Yeah,
this is the Mass AA-52. So.
Oh yeah, sorry for people listening. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen this fucking thing before.
It's also a gimpy.
It's got a Bren handle on it, so I wonder if it's a quick change barrel like the Bren.
Yeah, the receiver looks like it's an MG42 receiver that they shrunk.
That's something I'm gonna have to research. That's really interesting. Cool.
Yeah. But I don't think they had a blank adapter for it, so you never see shit.
All right. The OF-37. That's a cool grenade.
He's checking out the butts of the Burkas.
I feel like the reason that he felt them is because the shoes.
Yeah, you could hear them.
I thought,
yeah.
To me, it made me think he was checking out their ass.
Well, that's what it's supposed to do. But yeah. But he's like, women don't wear boots, and you can hear it on the stone, and so that's good for him to turn around.
To quote one of my favorite movies, Black Dynamite, "Donuts don't wear alligator shoes."
I love that movie.
It's so amazing. But
grenade.
Very cool.
Oh, that's it.
So the one thing they didn't have in here, I'm surprised, is at the end of the film when they have the riots and everything, a fucking Su-85 Soviet tank.
What? Okay, was that? Because I thought it was, but there was also a fucking French tank. It was an AMX something 105. Let me see really quick.
Yeah, but it was an Su-85 or 100. But what's funny is that because this film was shot after their independence and after they got support from Russia in the East, so that's why they have a fucking Russian World War II tank destroyer in North Africa in 1966.
AMX.
A lot of that stuff was given out.
Yeah, it's not that. It was an Su-85 for sure.
What's funny though too is because with my background in being a tanker, they're doing the wrong fucking thing. They're driving a tank and they're turning it 0G on fucking cobblestone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, and if you look like where the tank drove, it fucked up the road.
Oh yeah.
Like when it's going down, like you see cobblestone bits getting thrown up, and like you see two distinctive tracks. Because, long story short, we did a parade once for my museum on a really hot Memorial Day. It was like 105 degrees. It was too hot. We brought the tanks out. And there's 3 miles of fucking tank treads on the asphalt from our museum down the parade route back. But because it was so hot, a few thousand cars for the rest of the day flattened out the road. But pavement and tanks don't mix, especially when you do shit like 0G turning.
Just fucking.
First they're fucking for the tracks, and second off, dude. Like you have when you watch an armor column like National Guardian or like Drive, rubber tracks are different now, but like if you're steel tracks, like fucking, you're gonna repave the road.
Oh fuck yeah!
And these guys don't give a shit, and when you turn, it's like you're taking off a layer of skin each time. So when I saw that, I started laughing because I'm like, they probably did this twice, and the second time, if you notice, one of the tracks is on the lawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, because it's like somebody was like, "You're fucking ripping up the road, dude, and we can't have that."
Yeah, I mean, and not just ripping it up, destroying it.
Oh, yeah, by ripping up, I mean
it's
like,
fucked.
Oh look, there's the bedding material.
Yep.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's gonna take days to fucking redo.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, is that where Carthage was? Fuck.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
No. So, well, I think we've made it to our closing thoughts. So, who would like to begin?
I guess I'll go. I'll knock my since I seem to be the kind of, I don't want to say outsider, just the guy who had, I guess, like, I'll go first. I mean, like, I guess I'll also say this. It's like, I think I've said it a few times already. All these episodes is that, my opinion. It's my opinion. Go freaking watch this because it's really good. It really is good. I think a lot of I think the enjoyment that I'm kind of thinking about right now from this film comes from hearing these guys talk, and I feel like, taking Mike's and Brian's opinions and then kind of further digesting the movie as a whole has really helped, because when we started this podcast 2 hours ago, give or take, we I had just finished it. I literally stopped watching it, went and made some dinner, came down and started doing this. So I was very much like right off the cusp of finishing it. And when I kind of said boring in the beginning, I do stand by that. It is boring for me, but it doesn't detract that it's not a good film. I really liked the quality of in the film. I liked the cinematography in the film. I liked the fact that, even though the cadence was slow, it is 1960s. I have trauma from from film school, watching terrible movies of this decade. Um, I really did enjoy it, and it really does give a kind of a different take on everything going over the time. So I mean, mine's gonna be very short this week, but I think I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10. I really liked it. I wish I was on the same kind of, like, not boring thing and going through and talking this whole thing out. I don't feel like it's as boring as I thought to when we started, but the cadence, I think, for me personally, was just really slow, and
Yep.
that's just my take. So, so let's go 8 out of 10 screaming Mel Gibsons. So
Noise.
Cool.
Birch, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I think we actually got to cover a lot of that. And for the listeners, sorry, it was just Brian and I kind of rambling back and forth, but I could see Nate was thinking while we were doing that. And
yeah, the
so
smoke
that,
pours out of my ears when I do that too. So yeah.
yeah, you're kind
It
of
doesn't happen a
Yeah.
lot, but
right.
when it does.
But anyway, yeah, it was
Like, you ever see a substation get flooded?
oh yeah. Yeah, that's what was going on. You just hear the gears grinding in his fucking brain. Just
I didn't know sparks growing that way. Oh, shit.
fucking A. But yeah, anyway, that it was pretty easy to talk about. It was because, again, like, it's an interesting time, like Brian and I were talking about, and you learn something every time you look at something like this, you learn something new, and it's just like, okay, now I gotta go down these 15 fucking rabbit holes. But yeah, it was presented very well. It's what Nate said about it being boring. That was my first 10 minutes of this. Like, I was about to be like, ah, fuck, here we go. Another 2 hour just, oh God. And then after that first 10 minutes, it was like, that's when for me, it just started flowing. Cause I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of know what's going on here. Nice. And they follow the timeline and everything. So it was engaging for myself. But again, I'm interested in the topic, so I totally get that. It was shot very well. The cinematography, yeah, it was really, really well done. Like, especially like Brian said, those scenes in the alleyways in the casbah when they just shot those guys up and they're trying to hide and all the doors are locked and shit. It's like the angles and everything were really good, and like it all flowed, it cut very well together. Good stuff. Editing was good. Some of the sound was kind of fucked, but that's just a product of its time.
That's 1960s
That's yep, and so that's why I
editing
know
and
that.
sound, and yeah, it's like,
It's
yeah.
just it just blows out the fucking eardrums. It just blew out at certain points. But again, I understand why that is because it's this 1966. So anyway, yeah. All that being said, and it was raw. It was, like I said, with the dead kids. I mean, movies don't do that anymore. It's implied. It's always implied there's dead kids. It's never in your fucking face that guy's holding a dead child. I mean, obviously the kid's not dead in real life. It's an actor, but like the idea of you're looking at a person holding a dead it's just it fucks with you. And unless you're a psychopath, which is not that much of the population, even though people claim to be fucking idiots. Anyway, So yeah, when you get shit like that, you get the recovery of the bodies, you get the way it's affecting people, not in a way that was normal, and all that stuff. So yeah, subject matter was good. The acting, I thought, for the '60s was really good. I mean, it was not overdone. It was believable, which is a huge factor and all that shit. Anyway, I really did enjoy this, and I did not think it was going to be enjoyable. But again, you got to give everything a chance, and very pleasantly surprised with this. So I'll also give it an 8 out of 10, solidly.
I guess I shall close this up with, I saw this film a few years ago, like I mentioned earlier, and I liked it a lot. And I've done a lot of research, French history, decolonization stuff since then. So you coming back to it, I'm like, oh, I remember it was a pretty good film. And then watching it, I'm like, fuck, this is a really good movie. Like, what it gets right, it really gets right. And, it just, I could probably talk about this for like another hour or two. But just to sum it up, like, the beginning is great. It just, I love how they started there. I love how, for me in this film, words don't seem wasted. Like, everything has a weight. It's like everything's done for a reason. There's not some irrelevant conversation between two women because we have to have that. It's like everything leads to the liberation. Everything leads to the end goal of the revolution. So it's just so much was done, to just get it right, And also, this is so much, This is basically the quintessential movie on decolonization. It's just, if you're going to watch a film about this period of history and what it was like to get out of under the thumb of an oppressor in the West, or any colonized nation, this is the one to watch. This is the quintessential one. They have not made a better film. They've not made a worse film, but this is the one to talk about the subject. It just is a really good primer, and it's just awesome. That being said, it does have its flaws. It's a product of its time. I noticed a lot of interesting camera play. I feel like this wasn't the most professional production, which is fine. Sound, whatever. Some of the gunplay, you can obviously tell were blanks and things, but no, it's a really good movie, told in a very good way, where everyone is just a combatant or an equal, in this thing that they're thrust into. Again, like I said earlier, you don't walk away from this being like, I'm never going to have a baguette again. I'm going to throw out every croissant I've ever eaten. It's just people's actions make them monsters.
Yeah.
I will never suck on a frog leg ever again.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to your morality. And like what the French officer said, should Algiers remain French? And if the answer is yes, then shut the fuck up.
Yep.
So, that being said, I would also give this film an 8 out of 10 because it has its flaws, obviously, like everything. But what it does right, and it's fucking awesome for it.
Yep.
And if you're interested in post-war history or anything like this, I really recommend that you watch it, and with an open mind, and just this is how a revolution starts. This is how a country becomes a country, and it's awesome. So, putting all of our scores into the computer that will tell us when the Vietnam War will end or when Algeria will be free, we get 8 out of 10. What I'm saying, we get 8 out of 10. So yeah,
Brian, you should put that back into the calculator and try it again.
Are you sure? Okay. Are you sure you
so
carried the 2?
Yeah.
8, 16, 24.
Divided by 3.
It's 8.
Oh, right on. It was a tough one this week. A lot of different ratings.
Anyway,
well, I changed my rating to 8.2225867. There you go.
Putting everything into my Texas Instrument TI-84 calculator. No. So yeah, 8 out of 10. It's a really good movie. You should definitely check it out. And just because it's black and white, don't negate it.
Yeah, so, correct.
Awesome. Well, I would just like to end this on a quote that I think sums up this whole thing perfectly. And it's from a quote from a Frenchman that was involved in the original taking of Algeria in 1830. As long as you keep Algiers, you will be constantly at war with Africa. Sometimes this war will seem to end, but these people will not hate you any the less. It will be a half-extinguished fire that will smolder under the ash, and which, at the first opportunity, will burst into a vast conflagration. You can't keep a people subjected forever. Eventually, they will revolt, and they will throw you out in just a matter of time. Thanks for watching and listening, and catch you guys next week.
Le fin.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out. We head into the casbah this week with Gillo I'm gonna fuck his name up.
The casbah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's casbah.
It's casbah.
Casbah.
Yeah. Rock the
Okay.
casbah.
It's
That's the place they were the whole movie.
Casbah, but you can say casbah. I mean, they have money there, I guess.
Casbah.
Yeah, it's casbah.
We're heading to the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos. We head
Holy
into the casbah. I'm just gonna run it because Nathan, I talked with Birch about this. This guy's got a fucked up.
I heard it when I got in. It's fine, yeah.
We head into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos. Gillo Ponte. Okay, I'm gonna do hooked on phonics.
Holy fuck, man.
Dude, the last 2 episodes we haven't had anything at the end, so this will be great.
Into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos.
Here, let me look it up again. I'll say it for you a couple times.
The casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos.
Mike's head is in his hands.
This is fucking gold. I mean, this is the worst one yet, and I love every second of you fucking it up.
I don't know. Chris's was pretty biblical.
No, this is yeah. Hold on. That was
Comp
Oh, it's actually Gilberto Pontecorvo.
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 Now you sound Italian.
Hey.
He's actually from Pisa.
Oh.
You're right. Fuck you, Nathan. We head into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos. We head into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos, 1966.
Fuck, you
got it.
You had it. You stopped.
No, I fucked up on the year.
Oh my god.
We head into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos. We head into the casbah this week with okay, I'm gonna nail it. I'm gonna slate this fucker. Or not. We head into the casbah this week with Gillo Pontecorvos' 1966 epic